I'm just going to remember, since we have a movie star here, that it was a movie star, George Clooney, who really affected this election. I mean, Biden might still be in there if George Clooney, talk about celebrities and how important they are. I don't think they're important in getting the voters to do something, but they sure were important in getting the party heads to finally do it.
Hold on to your popcorn, because what we're about to unravel isn't a Hollywood screenplay. It's a real-life drama juicier than anything George Clooney's ever produced on the big screen. Yes, that George Clooney. The silver-haired icon of sophistication, the guy who made coffee commercials look like Oscar-worthy performances. Known for his effortless charm, suave demeanor, and a filmography dripping with prestige, Clooney has now landed himself not in a blockbuster, but in one of the most talked about public meltdowns of 2025 at the heart of this cinematic-level scandal. A feud so bizarre, so unfiltered, it's making TMZ look like PBS. And playing opposite Clooney in this unscripted drama, none other than Bill Maher, the razor-tongued maestro of real time, never one to hold back a verbal jab when there's blood in the water. This isn't your typical celebrity spat over tequila brands or vacation villas. No, this is a messy, ego-fueled PR disaster unraveling in full HD across every major platform. But before we plunge into the whirlpool of ego clashes, verbal takedowns, and career bruises, let's rewind to where it all began. Picture this. Clooney launches what was supposed to be a polished, thoughtful political ad. His aim? To remind the world he's not just a heartthrob, but a socially conscious icon still in tune with today's shifting tides. But instead of reigniting admiration, the ad face-planted in front of millions. And when I say face-planted, I mean it cratered harder than his most forgettable box office flops. Critics didn't just shrug it off, they torched it. Think satire skits, reaction videos, and a meme storm that made 2020 Twitter look tame. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it now and prepare yourself. It's a masterclass in how not to stay relevant.
Come on, boys. Let's make America great again. It's your turn, buddy.
Before you cast your vote in this election, think about how it'll impact the people you care about the most.
Daddy!
Remember, you can vote any way you want, and no one will ever know.
Do your patriotic duty?
You bet I did, brother.
What happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Walls.
Paid for by Vote Company.
Critics didn't just criticize, they pounced. Words like out of touch, tone deaf, and the cardinal sin of Hollywood, pandering, were flung like daggers across every headline and social media feed. Everyone slips up now and then, but this? This wasn't a stumble. It was a full-speed tumble down the jagged staircase of public opinion, every misstep echoing louder than the last. George Clooney, the man once considered bulletproof in the court of public perception, was now looking very, very human. And in today's climate, especially in Hollywood, being human isn't always a safe bet. The industry winds had shifted. Nostalgia and goodwill could no longer shield him. The backlash spread like wildfire, fueled by tweets, think pieces, and brutal late-night jabs. But Clooney isn't the type to sit back while the narrative writes itself. No, he went into damage control mode, fast. What followed was a high-stakes media blitz. Not just to save face, but to take back the reins of his public identity. This wasn't just press. It was a calculated, all-in redemption arc. The centerpiece of this campaign? A single strategic appearance that could turn the tide. A guest spot on Real Time with Bill Maher. On paper, it was a brilliant play. Clooney, live on air, disarming the public with that signature smirk, delivering a heartfelt mea culpa, and sharing sharp political insights to reestablish himself as more than just a handsome face. But there was one problem. Bill Maher wasn't buying it. Ever the cynic, Maher saw straight through the PR playbook. Clooney's camp pitched the idea like it was a slam dunk, but Maher reportedly shut it down cold, bluntly stating, "This isn't a rehab clinic for celebrities." And just like that, the plan began to unravel. But Clooney's camp wasn't about to walk away quietly. Defeat wasn't on the table. Not yet. Doubling down, they returned to Maher's team with a revamped proposal, this time packing even more star power and headline bait. The pitch? An exclusive appearance that promised fireworks. They offered up behind-the-scenes bombshells, raw emotional commentary, and a no-holds-barred takedown of critics that would all but guarantee viral moments. It was crafted to be unmissable, television gold that could dominate the media cycle for weeks. Still, Maher wasn't sold. He wasn't just saying no, he was holding the line. To him, this wasn't a juicy opportunity. It was a risky deviation. His viewers weren't tuning in for tabloid theatrics or celebrity redemption arcs. They came for sharp, unfiltered political analysis. And as far as Maher was concerned, dragging Clooney into the mix felt like throwing a movie star into a chess match and expecting checkmate. Then Maher went off script, turning his attention to the broader phenomenon of celebrity influence in politics. So now we've got George Clooney, a movie star supposedly influencing the direction of an election, he mused, half scoffing, half concerned. While he conceded that actors might not directly sway ballots, they absolutely have the power to force political leaders into the spotlight and into action. At this point, Maher's refusal was more than professional. It was philosophical. He wasn't just rejecting Clooney's appearance, he was challenging the growing conflation of fame and political credibility. But Clooney's team wasn't ready to throw in the towel. With the pressure mounting, they returned a third time, this time pitching a bold, unscripted live Q&A session. Real questions, real people, no script, no safety net. A chance for Clooney to look his critics in the eye and respond authentically. After multiple failed attempts to land a seat across from Bill Maher, George Clooney decided it was time to cut out the middlemen. In a move that screamed desperation, or depending on your perspective, bold determination, Clooney personally reached out to Maher. No PR filter, no polished pitch, just a direct appeal. An unscripted, candid, man-to-man conversation on real time. His offer was simple. Let me speak. Let me explain. Let me tell my side of the story without spin. But Maher wasn't moved, not in the slightest. According to insiders, Maher delivered his response with surgical bluntness. This show isn't a venue for celebrity redemption. Arcs. To Maher, this wasn't about ratings or headlines. It was about principle. Real Time wasn't a confessional booth for celebrities looking to save face. The integrity of his platform and its identity as a space for rigorous political discourse meant more than any guest's star power. For Clooney, though, this wasn't just a professional rejection. It cut deeper. Here was a man who had spent decades as Hollywood royalty, a silver screen staple whose charm once opened doors before he even knocked. And now, he was being publicly, unmistakably shut out. The sting was real. Behind the scenes, tensions began to simmer, and in classic Maher fashion, he didn't exactly keep things classy. Reports began surfacing that Maher had taken to mocking Clooney in private, calling his repeated outreach pathetic, and even comparing his persistence to auditioning for a pit party. It didn't stay behind closed doors for long. Word got back to Clooney, and let's just say the reaction wasn't zen, but Maher wasn't done. During one of his monologues, he slid in a few pointed jabs, thinly veiled but razor sharp, mocking Hollywood elites who mistake box office declines for political credibility. The message was crystal clear. Fame doesn't equal influence, and in Maher's world, the camera doesn't grant immunity. Bill Maher never said Clooney's name outright, but come on, the subtext was practically screaming. Anyone even casually following the saga could connect the dots. The jabs, the timing, the tone. It was Clooney, no question. But George wasn't. About to let the narrative spin out without a fight. His team went into overdrive, exploring new platforms that might give him a shot at reclaiming control. One of their biggest targets? The Howard Stern Show. Known for its no-filter, raw interviews and Stern's uncanny ability to strip away the PR polish, it seemed like the perfect arena for a comeback moment. Except, even Stern hesitated. Sources close to the production revealed that his team was uneasy about associating the show with Clooney's now toxic image. The risk of becoming part of the fallout was too high. And that says something. When Howard Stern thinks twice, you know the situation is spiraling. Behind the scenes, Clooney was reportedly unraveling. The man once celebrated for his calm, cool, and collected demeanor was losing it. Full meltdown mode. He was lashing out at team members, advisors, anyone who dared suggest that his charm offensive was failing. And while George flailed behind the curtain, Maher stood unshaken in the spotlight. Even without naming names, the tension between the two was impossible to ignore. To Maher, this wasn't just a professional disagreement. It was a line in the sand. He wasn't going to let his show become a stage for celebrity self-repair. His refusal sent a clear message: authenticity over theatrics, substance over stardom. Which brings us to now, ground zero of Hollywood's most watched meltdown of the year.